Hi, I'm Corey Anderson, and this is my Lab 9 post video reflection. When it comes to this lab, there wasn't too many safety precautions that you had to take. It was mostly just making sure you didn't, of course, point the laser pointer in your eyes or anybody else's eyes. That kind of thing is the biggest issue that you had to worry about. Um, that was, for the most part, the biggest thing. And then, of course, trying not to eat the Skittles. That's a big thing. but for the most part, everything is like every other lab. Made sure the area was clean. Make sure there was no distractions. Um, did everything all at once, making sure to just follow through everything. So the lab actually went pretty smoothly. Like I said, there wasn't too much with this lab that you had to worry about safety wise. Um, so everything went well. Now, for the part one, when you were dealing with the different light patterns and everything else coming out from between with the flashlight and the laser pointer. Now, when it comes to that, I did draw everything, and of course, you're just going to get like you would from the spectrum. Um, the first part was what I got off of when I was reflecting off the CD from the first part, and that was reflected off. Then, when you reflected the laser pointer off, you got something different. Like it didn't really do too much, but it reflected the laser off and it gave kind of like a wave pattern that way. And that's how I drew that one. And then for the refraction, when you put it through the gate, um, for L I got 27 centimeters, and for X I got 19 centimeters. And the flashlight through the gate gave me, sorry, that kind of design. Of course, it once again it gave you color spectrum, but it came out from it started at violet and then worked its way back out to red. So, like I said, that was pretty easy overall. Nothing too crazy. And then, of course, when um, you put the laser pointer through refraction, of course, you got the 3 points, and of course, it would go out further if you had more and more for it. And that's where I got the the initial from with the string when you're measuring it from the grate to the first reflection point. That's how I got the 27 centimeters, and then from that point to the center part was the 19 centimeters. So overall, the first part of the lab was actually pretty easy. Um, like I said, nothing too crazy, just making sure I wasn't flashing anybody. Now the second part, when it came to dealing with the half-life evaluations, um, mine didn't take too long. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer just because shaking stuff with usually like with the dice kind of thing. Sometimes it, especially when you're dealing with that, it can take a lot of rolls to finally get to zero. Um, but I initially started with the Skittles. I counted them out. I actually started out with a 58 total, um, and then it went down pretty quickly. It only took me a total of 7 rolls to get to the actual to get for it to be completely decayed, so and say. So for the first roll, I ended up getting. Sorry about this. It was a total of for the first roll. I got the number of parent Skittles was 30. The daughter Adams was 28. For the second roll, parent Skittles were 18 and 12 for the daughters. Then the third roll was 7 for the parent and 11 for the daughter Adams. For number 4, there was 4 for the parent, 3 for the daughter. For 5, it was 2 and 2. 6 was 1 and 1, and then 7 was 1 and 0. So it ended up working out pretty well. Luckily, it didn't take too long for that one. I did make the graph for it right here. I had, of course, on the side, I had the number of parent and daughter Adams, and then on the bottom, I had the amount of rolls. And then for the parent Adams, I put it in blue. Daughter Adams, I put it in red. So overall, it was a pretty easy lab, but you still get the same concept of what you were actually trying to get, and that was trying to find out the half-life and, of course, the different wavelengths of light. So overall, everything worked out pretty well. Now, the reason why for the light and the different patterns is because with the laser pointer, it runs at it has a much different frequency than the flashlight itself. It has a higher frequency, so that's why it's not reflecting the light as much as anything, so they have different patterns. So, of course, regular light, when it's reflected, you're going to get the spectrum. Laser pointer, because it runs at a different frequency, is going to get not as many, you're not going to get the same pattern. Now, overall, for all the labs, I believe from this standpoint, especially with myself, not being in a chemistry class for as long as I was, I believe that all of them were actually pretty useful in getting back into the run of things. Not everything in court, everything's always has some kind of error, so not everything always went perfect, but for the most part, it helped get a grasp on everything and exactly what we were supposed to be learning in the class and in the electives and basically everything we needed to learn. So, and it was pretty easy, nothing too crazy. I know because they're home experiment labs, I know you could be more in depth if it was an actual in class, but for doing everything at home the way we did it, I think everything worked out pretty well. The least supportive, I can't really think of too much, to be truthful. Like I said, every lab I enjoyed doing, and I felt that they supported the lectures that we were learning at that point, and it gave us a fun and easy way to be able to look at that and be able to coincide with what we were learning in the class at that time. So overall, I did enjoy this class. It was a little hectic, of course, at the beginning with trying to get my lab kit and everything else, but for the most part, definitely enjoyed the class. If I were able to go back and take it again and do better, I definitely would. But overall, definitely enjoyed it, and I look forward to further classes. Thank you very much.